Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, Batra, page 142b, top of the page with the words Tehu, Meis, Bereisha, Ve'ein, Haben, Yoresh, Es Imo, Bekever, L'hanchil, L'achin, Min Ha'av. The reason is that we presume that the fetus died first, before his mother died, and the son does not inherit from his mother while in the grave, in order to bequeath the inheritance to his paternal brothers. The halacha is that if a son dies afterwards his mother dies, the deceased son does not inherit from his mother and subsequently bequeath the inheritance to his paternal brothers who are not related to the mother. But in other cases where it is not his mother's estate, a fetus inherits property. Lememra dehu meis peresha v'hahave oveda uparkes telata pirkuse amar mar baravashi mide dehave aznav halta'a shemeparkeses. The Gemara asks, is this to say that it is certain that the fetus died first, but there was an incident where the mother died and the fetus made 3 spasmodic motions afterward? Apparently a fetus can die after the mother. Mar Baravashi said that incident was just as it is with the tail of the lizard, which jerks after being severed from the head, but it is just a spasmodic motion which does not indicate that it is still alive. Mar Bered Rav Yosef Mishmei Rav Amar Lo Yamar Shemimayet V'chelek V'choicho V'dafka Ben Yom Echad Aval Ubar Lo My Tama V'yodu Lo Amar Rachmana. Mar, the son of Rav Yosef, says, in the name of Rava, the Mishnah comes to say that a one-day-old child reduces the portion of the firstborn. The firstborn is entitled to a double portion of the inheritance, and this is calculated taking into account the portion due to his dead brother. And it is in this context that specifically the portion of a one-day-old child is taken into account, but the portion of a fetus is not taken into account, even though a fetus also inherits property. What is the reason for all these? The Merciful One states concerning the portion of the firstborn: if a man has 2 wives, the one beloved and the other hated, and they bore him children, both the beloved and the hated, if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, this is Deuteronomy 21:15, the term children excludes a fetus. Damar Mar Bered Rav Yosef Mishmei Rava Ben Shnu Lachar Misas Av Enu Mayed B'chelek B'choyach My Time of Yodoloyam Rachmana B'halaka. This is similar to another brayta, as Mar, son of Rav Yosef, says in the name of Rava, a son who was born after his father's death does not reduce the firstborn's portion. What is the reason for this? The Merciful One states in the Torah, and they bore him children. And this term children does not apply to a fetus. The Surah, in Surah Matznu Hachi, they taught, the Gemara notes that in Surah they taught Mar's statement that way. But in Pumbedita they taught it this way. Pumbedita Matznu Hachi. Amar Mar Bered Rav Yosef Mishmei Rava Bechor Shnu Lachar Misas Aviv Ein Not Bishnayim My Time Yakir Amar Rachmana V'haleta Yakir V'hlachas Chol Hani Dishani the Amar Mar Bered Rav Yosef Mishmei Rava. Okay. In Surah they taught Mar's statement that way, but in Pumbedita they taught it this way. Mar, son of Rav Yosef, says, in the name of Rava, a firstborn who was born after his father's death does not receive a double portion. What is the reason for this? The Merciful One states in the Torah, but he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the hated, by giving him a double portion. Deuteronomy 21:17. Deuteronomy 21:17. And in this case, the father is not there, that you can acknowledge him. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is in accordance with all these versions of that which Mar, the son of Yosef, says in the name of Rava. Accordingly, a one-day-old child reduces the portion of the firstborn. A son born after his father's death does not reduce the firstborn's portion, and a firstborn after his father's death does not receive a double portion. Amar Rav Yitzchak, Amar Rav Yochanan, Amazake leubo loy kolno. Ve'im tana mishnasenu hoyil v'datoi shel odom keroivo etzel benoi. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yochanan says, with regard to one who transfers ownership of an item to a fetus, the fetus does not acquire the item. And if you say that the statement of our Mishnah 140b, with regard to one who gives a gift to his unborn child, indicates that an item can be transferred to a fetus, the circumstances there are unique. Since the disposition of a person is to be inclined towards his son, the sages validated such a transfer, but one cannot transfer an item to the unborn child of another. Amar leishmuel Chana bag doto poik aiti li be'esara ve'emar li ba'payu hamazakalu be'chana hilchas hamazakalu be'loikana. Shmuel said to Rav Huna of Baghdad, "Go out and bring me an assembly of 10 men, and I will say a halacha to you in their presence, so that it will be well publicized." The halacha was, with regard to one who transfers ownership of an item to a fetus, the fetus acquires the item. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is that with regard to one who transfers ownership of an item to a fetus, the fetus does not acquire the item. Amarle hu gaver maitai ale amarle zil kane chad mibera hanach vadai lo kanu deakati litanehu. The Gemara relates there was a certain man who said to his wife before she conceived, "My property is given to the sons that I will have from you." His older son from a previous marriage came and said to him, "That man," meaning me, "what will become of him? Will I receive nothing?" He said to his son, "Go and acquire a portion like one of the sons who will be born." In other words, you will receive a share as well. The Gemara comments, those sons who were not yet born certainly did not acquire the property and do not receive more than their share as heirs, as they are not yet in existence. Hi is chulak letalya b'makom banyo, or les le chulak letalya b'makom banyo. Rabbi Ovim Rabbi Mayashia Rabbi Yirmiyah Diamri is chulak letalya b'makom banya. Rabbi Avahu Rabbi Chanina bar Papi Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Diamri let chulak letalya b'makom banaya. The Gemara asks, with regard to this son, does the young man receive an additional It came up today. Does the young man receive a additional share of the inheritance in a case where there are other sons from the second wife, since his father gave him an additional share, or does the young man not receive an additional share of the inheritance where there are other sons? There are Rabbi Avin and Rabbi Mayasha and Rabbi Yirmiyah who all say the young man does receive an additional share of the inheritance where there are other sons. And there are Rabbi Abahu and Rabbi Chanina bar Papi and Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha who all say that the young man does not receive an additional share of inheritance where there are other sons. Amarle Rabbi Abahu Rabbi Yirmiyah hilchasa kevotan o hilchasa kevotaichu. Hilchasa kevotan o hilchasa kevotaichu. Amar le pshita dehechas kevotan. De kashishna minaichu velav hilchata kavotaichu. De darke atun amar le mi de bikashishuta talia milta. Betama talia milta betama mai zil legabe de Rabbi Avin deis barde nihele. Rabbi Abahu said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, is the halacha in accordance with your opinion, or is the halacha in accordance with is the halacha in accordance with our opinion, or is the halacha in accordance with your opinion? Rabbi Yirmiyah says to Rabbi Abahu, it is obvious that the halacha is in accordance with our opinion, as we are older than you, and the halacha is not in accordance with your opinion, as you are youngsters, dardiki. Rabbi Abahu says to Rabbi Yirmiyah in reply, does the matter depend upon age? The matter depends upon the reason behind the ruling. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked him, what is your reason? Rabbi Abahu replied, go to Rabbi Avin as I explained this halacha to him.